Hi, I'm Jerry Schultz, and I'm from the Boston, Massachusetts area, just outside of Boston. Well, I play the grandfather, a role which comes quite naturally to me. I love being in this production for a lot of reasons.
This is a fairly chunky role in this production. You're in every scene and you basically narrate the whole story. So how did you find that?
I loved it because I've done over 80 productions now, and I love this one because there's continuity. First of all, it's a precious story, a wonderful story, and having to be able to play this role throughout the story to kind of tie it together was a treat for me. So I loved it, and I had to be consistent in the character, but it was an easy task because it was a natural role for me.
What did you like most about playing the role, or what was a part of it that you enjoyed in particular?
When I first read the story, the grandfather character, who is the narrator, says to the grandkids, I'm going to tell you a story, but it's in my head. So, what appealed to me from the outset with this is when my two young adult daughters now and my five grandchildren are growing up, they always begged me to tell them a story from my head. So that I said, my goodness, this is a story about me. So, but it was my tale anyway. And the idea of telling now that my grandkids are a little older, they don't say, tell me a story from your head. They say, my grandpa makes stuff up, which is wonderful because I do, and I love doing it. So what appealed to me that appealed to me about the story, and just the creativity of the piece. I've worked with you before on another project, and the writing and the story are excellent. And without that, the best voice actor can't make a bad story get better. So I love the idea that this was a fantastic tale. I grew up the middle of five kids. And I remember riding around in the back of a station wagon with my parents driving, and I had to figure out some way to get their attention. So one of the things I did while we were riding around was make stuff up, and there was a lot of laughter, a lot of joy. So being the middle child, I'm also professionally a clinical child psychologist, so I'm very aware of how environment shapes personality. So I got shaped in the back seat of a '57 Chevy station wagon.
We first met with the Girls' Night Out series, where you played the role of Danik, who was a parasitologist from Czechoslovakia, no less, which you did a
Yeah.
wonderful job of.
Thank
Very
you. I love that character. I love doing accents. I mean, my voice acting coach of several years ago said, if you're going to do accents, Jerry, you need to do them as well or better than the people who come from that country. So I said, okay.
It's a
But I
challenge
didn't
I want to meet. And you're a grandfather yourself. Did you say you had five grandchildren? How old are
Yeah.
they?
They're getting old. The youngest is 14 and the oldest is now 22.
Wow, yeah. In this story here, The Unthinkable Abduction of Albert, it's kind of a story within a story. What do you think's going on there?
It's an interesting tale. It's kind of the liberation of the upper class by mistake, which is really an interesting and fortuitous event where Prince Albert gets cast out of his box on the shelf and gets to live among the commoners, the cutlery. And I think that's one part of the story that somebody who holds one position in life or one status in life gets this rare opportunity to be dropped down literally into a new environment and a new set of challenges and to learn something from it and to have his life changed by the experience. So I think on a life lesson level, it's a wonderful tale. And then there's the fantasy of the kids hearing the story and the cutlery that comes to life. I envisioned all these characters that you've written into this just dancing about and having a joyful, gleeful time on the countertop and rearranging themselves. It's appealing on so many levels.
Do we really know what's happening in the kitchen when we're asleep?
Yes.
Let's talk about your voice a little bit. You say you've done 80 productions and your voice is so beautiful, the warmth of it in this story. Did you get any formal vocal training? You mentioned something about a coach. What's that all about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to go back a little bit. I started doing voice work when I was about 14 because I worked in my father's then Army Navy surplus store, and we had the local radio station on Saturday mornings set up a booth in the corner, and they would do our advertising for us, and then they'd play music over the local radio channel. And one time the DJ called me back and said, Jerry, you want to do some ads for me? So that's when I started mastering the use of accents. It was a bit irreverent, and I would be thrown into social inappropriateness school or prison these days. But I had a great time. And growing up, I was a chubby little boy, and I made friends by getting attention. And after I did this show a couple of times in these, my friends would call me up, see me out on the street afterwards and say, how did you get that job? How do you get to do that? And I said, I don't know. It's the, so that was
So
my really early
that's
beginning in storytelling. And that was a lot of fun. And then I used my voice professionally, doing webinars and presentations and keynote speeches and things like that. So I honed my public speaking skills that way. But then I've always wanted to do more with my voice in a creative way. I met a voice actor, a professional voice actor, probably 15 years ago, and she was talking to me about her profession, and she recommended a coach to me. She said, if you want to really do this the right way, you need to work with my coach named Ren Ross. Ren has since died, unfortunately, but in the time we had together, we worked for about 2 years. She helped me hone my voice acting skills, helped me understand the relationship between acting and voice work and voice acting. The interesting thing is she encouraged me to stay professional, to use my voice to talk about psychology and neuropsychology and other things that I knew very well. And I said, well, that's nice, but I went into this to have fun. And she said, if you're not having fun at voice acting, then you should get out of the business. So for me, fun is doing these characters. So Ren and I worked together, and she was very, very helpful in shaping my professional career and getting me started in this. And the other thing that's been really helpful is that I've done a lot of work with students who are doing animation productions or short dramatic videos. And that work has been great because it's connected me with a lot of young talent, rising talent, and I've been able to get some really cool roles and help young people move to a next level in their career and be a part of that. And then that becomes part of my resume. So that's been a lot of fun.
so if people want to hear you in anything that you've done, is it possible to access that in any way?
Sure. I have a website, which is jerryschultzvoiceactor.com, and there are many samples of my work there. The other place that people can listen to me and see visual projects is to go to my IMDb page, which is the website where actors, voice actors, and live stage actors and movie actors get posted. My IMDb name is Jerry Schultz, Roman numeral 7. Apparently, there are a lot of Jerry Schultzes out there in the entertainment world. So if people go to that site, you'll hear there are probably 15 different video projects that I've done, all in different voices,
Mm.
and you can queue them up and search them out that way. So that would be great. Thank you for asking me about those resources.
And for those of you who haven't learned your Roman numerals, that's VII.
Thank you for that.
I don't even,
Right.
do they teach that anymore?
I don't know. I'm as old as the Romans, so I
Me too, me
remember that
too.
part.
So, Jerry, any words of wisdom for lost princes in the world?
Get out of the box. I have the attitude in life that you try everything twice, and my kids, my grandkids know that that's my philosophy. And the message there is if what you're doing isn't pleasant to you or rewarding to you, do something else or do it again in a different way. Reinvent yourself. So the message for me is that if you get stuck in a rut, and it's not a good one, you may learn to adjust to it and live like that, but you may not be happy. So I think the getting out of the box is a metaphor for me for jumping into a new situation that might teach you something that might give you a chance to impart your knowledge and your wisdom to other people, as the prince did to the cutlery in the second drawer down. I love that one. Uh, and that's really the message for me. And that's why another reason I love doing this performance so much.
Were there any scenes in the whole play that you particularly liked or that resonated with you?
That's a really good question because there one of the things I do for fun in my life is I am a silversmith also, and I do welded sculptures outside in the summertime. So there's a scene in the story where the prince is looking at the wind chime twirling in the wind and feeling empathy for this poor battered spoon that's bouncing around in the wind, and the spoon says the woman in the house makes the us, and she uses a welding torch to do that, and the prince says, does it hurt? It's something I never asked any of my sculptures, but it certainly made me think about. That was one. There was one other, which was kind of comic relief, where the prince meets the squirrel. And I can't wait to hear the recorded version of the squirrel's voice because that was such an interesting and funny scene. Like the squirrel is a streetwise tree climbing rodent who's advising this royalty about how to live. It just breaks me up just to think about it. So those were a couple of highlights in the story. There were others to be sure, but those stick out in my mind.
Oh, that's lovely. You know, those squirrels are smart.
They are. If you ever try to keep one out of a bird feeder, you know how smart they are.
I know. I know, and acrobatic too.
Yeah,
Well, Jerry
absolutely.
Schultz, thank you so much for making time, and thank you so much for your absolutely wonderful performance as grandfather.
Thank you for inviting me to do this performance. I enjoyed it a lot. And thanks for bringing me on camera to talk about my experiences and to have the chance to dialogue with you about this, Mary.
Yeah.
Keep
All
on
right.
writing.